What up, cyberspace cadet, cyber fanbots galore? We're trying to get the. We got some problems going on here, some technical difficulties, and we're trying to work through them. So just bear with us. It's a beautiful Saturday night here, and you know what that means. It's time for accelerated deconstruction with Excel, Thiem, and tonight's guest is Johnnie. We're trying to get him rolling audio wise. We got a camera up, but we can't get the audio to go with it, and we don't know why. So I'm sitting here live there. Thiem, you want to say hey? Groovy. How you doing? Now he's muted. About. Well, I can say it is what it is. Say hey to everybody in the chat. What's happening, Dumbbeard, Man Squatch, Jacob, Yoshi the Macabre. Fuck that name, the Macabre. FTW Nil, of course, one and only. Jacob again. Nice Omega. People would say that's a horseshoe, but that's actually an Omega symbol, which means the end. This is the end. My only friend, the end. Yeah. Right. Yeah, if you want to, just type it in the in where you were typing that you were here in the general channel news. We can do that. We'll make this thing happen. And while we're doing that, we can shoot the shit, say hey to the chat. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. No shit, man. It was rough. It was rough. Yeah.
You're like, what? I just opened this mofo. What is this? That was always fun.
Yeah, well, of course, as the boomerage has like kind of multiplied here, you were just muted until I just unmuted you just now.
Oh, fantastic! We're on a roll today.
No shit, man. Batting 1,000. Whoa,
oh, dude.
Where is my Oh my god, it's gone. I am.
Oh, I told you not to set that there, Debbie.
I mean, really.
Don't get all sticky.
Gonna get sticky.
They gonna smell like dust too.
I'm suggesting if trying to download the application and log in through there, it's a little bit more friendly than the web browser version.
Oh, the web browser version, he might not be able to use voice chat at all. I think that's one of the...
No, you can. It's just not very friendly. It's less friendly than the actual desktop application. It looks exactly the same, but...
There we are. All right, now everything's looking right from this side now. God. It's one of those days.
Oh, dude, it's one of those, like, this has been the weirdest fucking June.
Indeed.
Everything's been weird. Y'all put
Anyway,
me so fucking
I know
weird.
he's not here ready to respond, but part of the reason I wanted to have Johnny Walker Dread on is amazingly enough, YouTube recommended his channel to me. He has these videos. He has over 100 videos on Kyle Rittenhouse. And the first one I found was one of his Kyle Rittenhouse dumb arguments. And I just started watching all his videos, and I'm like, man, these videos are fantastic. And this guy is grossly undersubbed, and I think our audience would like him a lot. So that's why I wanted to have him on. I'm sorry for the frustration of trying to get Discord to work there, Johnny, but we'll figure it out eventually. Yeah, he can hear us just fine. He just can't talk back.
That sucks. Oh. I don't know what we can do from here.
Once we get it working.
My throttle cable is loose.
The what? Who? What?
My throttle cable is loose, y'all. Every time I inhale, it goes clunk clunk, and every time I exhale, it goes clunk clunk. And my throttle cable's loose, y'all.
Well, you also have like a sprung rib, which when you told me about that, now I know exactly what you're feeling.
Dude, I don't even know if it's that. Like, I can't be for sure. They're like, it's probably broken underneath your implant, but that's cool. But I think they're like, you sprained your chest wall. And I'm like, how the fuck do you sprain that?
Yeah.
So, no, it can happen. I've done it before.
Yeah. Is that when you stage dived and they just opened the floor up and just let you hit?
No, funny enough, I was I was 21, so I was much younger, and my little sister, she was like into basketball and stuff. So we were playing basketball, and she wanted to see if she could outrun me, which actually she did. I've never been a fast runner. I'm all torso. But it was close, except for I sprung a rib and immediately had this sharp pain that had me on the ground. And then I was trying to catch my breath, and while trying, like every breath I took hurt, like that pinched nerve feeling. Mm-hmm. It felt like something was poking my lungs every time I took a breath.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I was about to go to the emergency room. Fortunately, I had a family doctor that was old school, right? Like, he had an on-call number that you could call him at. And described it, and he said, well, this is what it is, and I'm not open, but you can probably find a chiropractor that will make it feel a little bit better, right? Like, they just did this thing where they jolted me, and it took a while to heal, but going to the chiropractor certainly helped.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a big fan of chiropractics.
No. All right. So there's a difference. There are back crackers, and then there are people that use these like stupid pseudo scientific devices that are supposed to align your spine and shit, and it's all bullshit. Right? At least a good chiropractor will crack your back.
Well, right? A good chiropractor won't tell you that adjustments will save your life and change your world.
or get rid of your cold, that kind of shit. Yeah, stupid shit like that. It'll just make your back feel better.
They'll just help your spine align so you can go do other shit without pain.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened. By the way, Johnny, feel free to type to me in Twitter if you need help with anything. I'm sure you're just going through... you've used computers before. You're just going through all the troubleshooting steps that you possibly can.
No, he's never used a computer. He's never made a video. He's done nothing. He lives in a hole. It's not a dirty, wet hole, but a dry, sandy hole. But I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
It's not like Let's Be Frank. When I was dealing with him, he knew nothing.
Johnny, can you hear me now?
Actually, Frank's gotten pretty savvy, dude. He figured it all out. That's kind of good.
He did. He sure did.
Frank's not here. Oh, it looks like his screen locked.
He probably
his camera
is getting on the app. Oh, in other news, I got my. Do I have to call it this? My cancer treatment.
Huh?
It was my second cancer treatment from that cancerous growth I had removed.
Oh.
Yeah, they have to freeze the inside of the area, and like he blasted it the first time pretty good. He really fucking blasted it this last time. Like it's like before it was like a quarter sized, right? This is like baseball sized. I know, he's just like, everything looks good. I'm gonna blast the hell out of it this time though. I'm like, great.
Right. Don't want to get it, like a metastasize. It sounds like, man. Damn, that's huge though. Jesus.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know. And it's annoying. It hurts.
I bet.
I guess real quick, I was
bet.
figuring out like something kind of off topic that I thought was absolutely hilarious that we talked about. I expect some disconnects and reconnects here. But the whole Kamala Harris in Guatemala telling everybody, and now we lost there.
Oh, I rate it.
This
Dude,
one,
I was
that
like,
was
well, we
hilarious.
lost irate too.
Kamala Harris. What?
But Kamala Harris
I
going
was
to
talking about Kamala
Guatemala.
Harris going to Guatemala, telling people not to cross the border illegally. It's just like, that's the same person that was along with protesters chanting, like, no borders, no wall. Everyone is welcome here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was like their president came out and like straight blamed her. Like just straight up was like, oh yeah, her and Biden are the reason there's an immigration problem in America to begin with.
All right,
Like
so-
he did it on their national television and she was right.
Well, all right. So what she said was that she was there to address the root
Hold on,
problem.
I
shit.
see green lights.
Whoa,
You don't even need your camera, brother.
Johnny. Oh, they're almost there, man.
This is Betty.
Yep,
Hey!
I can hear you. You can turn off video. It's not going to come through on the stream.
Okay, how's that?
I can hear you.
Give me a 1, 2.
Okay, are you getting any echo?
No, but you might need to get a little closer to your mic.
Okay. How's this?
I can hear you.
Okay, hang on. We could turn it up.
Well, and we can adjust you on our side too.
Yeah, pop the gain as much as you want, and then I'll tweak it back. I got you, man. I got you.
Might have gotten you a little too close. You're lighting up now when we talk. All right. You should probably be
Okay,
good now.
let's see here. Can I just talk loud like this?
Yep, you sound good.
That
We'll
sounds fine.
pop you up on our side.
Yeah,
think I've
loud
turned-
talking's loud talking's a thing we do here. We have a Texan on board.
Yeah, we're crazy. Yes, we are a loud bunch of people. Welcome
Awesome.
aboard, Johnny. It's nice to meet you, man. Irate Prostate.
Yeah. Finally got it going. It was really confusing because I was using these headphones, but they were like 5 entries for. I'm like, which one? And I was clicking this one and this one and this one, and I was like, oh boy, that ain't working. Yeah, hey, this Discord is sophisticated, man. I was really struggling to move around in it.
Yeah, it might actually be something you want to look into in the future if you plan on growing your channel real big, just because it's a really good way to keep connected with your audience and let them know whenever your videos are out.
Yeah, I just started doing a lot of StreamYard stuff, so hopefully that'll help out as well. I've used Discord for the text part before for my classes, but I've never actually used any kind of live deal and they're like this.
Yeah, and StreamYards is really popular. We're just used to Discord, so the only other thing, I guess, yeah, we're all I'm a gamer,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I'm a household of gamers.
but yeah, I mean, now that you're here, I just want to properly introduce you. Like, first off, I'm actually excited to talk to you. Like I said, I found your content actually through a YouTube recommendation, which is rare. And it was one of your Kyle Rittenhouse dumb arguments, and I just kept walking. Like, you may call it nothing but solid points. I think you're probably the most knowledgeable person on YouTube covering that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, first off, just to get started, like, what made you start making videos?
My first videos, it was really a comparison of. It was really kind of like a dumb argument, but it wasn't specific to Kyle because it was before that happened. It was just some of the insane kind of thinking that goes on out there. A lot of people misunderstanding like statistics and, just really poor thinking. And I taught critical thinking at one point. So I decided to create these channels. The first one I did was on the Rayshard Brooks shooting. And there was only like 3 or 4 that I started doing some sovereign citizen stuff. And then the Kenosha shootings happened. And that kind of just deflected all of my attention. And I think it's like Kyle's about 90% of what I do.
Yeah, and so in a weird way, like, the reason we started this particular stream, I don't know if you searched Irate's channel, but Irate Prostate, he's the host. He does streams on just a lot of different things. Like Fridays, just kind of a fun stream where we go over dumb videos. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's not. But we started streaming on critical theory, and this was actually, God, how long ago did we start this?
Dude, it's been at least 3 or 4 months, 5 months, maybe 6 months.
It's been like
more
6.
than that. Yeah, it was before Donald Trump even said anything about it, and before it was popular. And we were just kind of talking about how this critical theory nonsense is. I really think there's some overlap because that's what's driving a lot of this terrible thinking.
It's I would suggest that a lack of perspective. They can't see. They take an isolated incident and they think that it happens every day.
Well, yeah, and so this is one of the problems with critical theory is that it actually starts out with the assumption that racism occurred in some form, right? And whenever you start out with that predisposition, and I think you can apply this to the Kyle Rittenhouse situation where you have all these people wanting to hang this kid for something that even leftist, right? Like, when I say leftist, I actually want to say like left liberals, people that are properly liberal, not critical theorists who hate liberalism. A lot of them are like, look at it and they're like, yeah, that was self-defense. Like one famous YouTuber, Destiny, he is definitely to the left, but he was sitting there arguing with a commie type saying like, no, this is self-defense. Like, just watch the video. It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, and like one is V Radio. Neil from V Radio. He's also a progressive. And he's one of the staunchest Kyle defenders out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, actually. I think you've talked to some of them. I might be wrong, but isn't Logical Checkmate one of the people you've talked to that is also considers himself kind of on the left? Yeah, I could be wrong about his political positions, but
and coming from the Czech Republic, he's not going to be, a Bible thumping Southerner, Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I can guarantee you that his worldview is definitely left of center, but he's like rational, and and I have the utmost respect for him. And he's, by the way, probably the most passionate the Kyle Rittenhouse defenders.
Well, and so the reason I got interested in this, and actually just leading up to the stream, I started kind of paying attention to more of what was going on in the Twitterverse and watching a few more of your videos. What I find like interesting is just how many people just want to hang this guy and they don't know anything about what actually happened and they pretend they do.
Yeah, and a lot of them have told me they want to hang this guy and he's in. I've had a number of commenters say that. I mean, it's not uncommon for someone to say, yeah, it's self-defense, but I still want him to see him go to prison.
Yeah, actually, the what is it? The Braver Angels podcast or whatever.
Yeah.
I almost felt that that's what I was getting from a lot of them that were like, okay, they opened their mind a little bit, but like a lot of them are like, well, he's still guilty of something. Like he's got to go to jail, but I don't hate him as much as I used to. Like a lot of them, that's the conclusion they came
Yeah.
to.
The one Asian man, I think, is definitely one I would put a guilty in there because they just can't escape their political trappings. They're twisted, and it's part of their identity, and so they just can't walk away from that. And it's especially bad if you have formed an early conclusion based on the little smattering of information that first came out. And then once you sort of decide that Kyle needs to be in prison, it's hard to back away from that. You've already emotionally invested in that outcome. And so you're just simply not going to convince those people.
Yeah, well, and some of the more honest people, when it really boils down to it, they're really just saying, I think you should be in prison because I agree with the protesters and I don't like people like Kyle Rittenhouse, which is the funny part about it is what is it? The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel or whatever tried to say like he was a counter protester. They said a lot of stuff that was completely loaded. And I think you've covered it on your channel. But I thought it was interesting that they called him a counter protester, but he wasn't there to be a counter protester. He was like, go protest all you want, like go destroy government property all you want. Just please don't burn down businesses because that's bad for people in my community.
The hypocrisy is absolutely amazing in this story. You have people that are slamming Wendy for being a single mother who would never criticize somebody normally for something like that. You have people who the big deal was for a while there, well, he's a dropout. These people would never say anything negative about someone just because they dropped out of school. And by the way, he's not. He's going to sue, I think, it's the Chicago paper for that one when this is all over, because they went on there and told him on a myth versus fact thing. They said fact, it's a dropout. He only transferred from one school to another, but they called him a dropout and they're denigrating him for it. I mean, I'm a high school dropout. I mean, I wasn't a dropout. I didn't actually complete all the credits to graduate, and I had to go get my GED to go to junior college. So I fully understand why a person may struggle in school, even though that's not necessarily a given here. But here they are denigrating, and yet, most of the time, they're probably supporting these people. It's just, I think that deep down, I think there's a certain ugliness that Kyle just brings out of them.
Yeah.
Is Kyle mixed race?
No.
No, okay, so he's not part Hispanic?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Let's go over dumb argument. Kyle is Hispanic, but this one's kind of justified.
Well, that's why I saw it all over. That's why I was asking. Sorry.
Yeah, now, he might have a Hispanic grandparent. But I'm sorry, he's white.
Yeah.
That. So, and I understand people were only using that as just sort of a counter argument. I don't think anybody really cared that much, and I certainly didn't. To me, it made no difference at all.
Yeah.
And then when I finally saw people starting to use that sort of as part of a logical, tool, I got on there and did my dumb argument to kind of try to stop it.
Yeah. Well, and some of that stemmed from the fact that if you looked up Kyle Rittenhouse like right after the shooting, the only thing you would find is like what was some speeding violation or something like that, or driving underage. Forgot exactly what it was, but they listed him as Hispanic, right? So people were just going off of bad information from official government websites.
Yeah, and that wasn't because Kyle identified himself as Hispanic. That was just what the police officer wrote down. So who knows where that came from? And, like I say, I don't think it matters at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but like I understand why people would reflexively, if they thought that was true, would respond that way, because this is where this is like overlapping with this critical race theory nonsense. is they're trying to call him a white supremacist. And they're trying to point out a contradiction, like how can somebody that's Hispanic be a white supremacist? And while critical race theory really will justify that, it does, because it defines white supremacy as the system as is. So anybody that would defend that is a white supremacist. But when you point it out to in general to people, it's a decent rebuttal because it exposes the contradiction. Just turns out in this case that contradiction is not true.
I was just wondering because a lot of times CRT is really, really adamant about going after mixed race individuals. That's all.
And keep in mind also that being Hispanic means you're white when it's convenient and you're Hispanic when it's convenient.
Yep.
George Zimmerman, right? He's Hispanic.
Yeah.
But he was a white Hispanic. So they called him white because it wasn't convenient to call him Hispanic in that instance. But if he had been the one that was assaulted, it would have been a Hispanic male assaulted by, whatever. So it's that's one thing about being Hispanic. It's you get to be white whenever it serves its purpose, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a real problem with what's going on with the increased number of hate crimes, even though I don't actually really like that as an official legal term, against Jewish people, right? Like they're only Jewish in this context, but in fact, they're trying to make them not Jewish. They're trying to make them white because the perpetrators of these attacks are not white people, right? This is not neo-Nazis that started ramping up their attacks against Jews. This is Black and brown people in these inner cities that are attacking the Jewish population.
Right.
I agree. Jews are another one that can be considered white whenever it suits people's purpose.
Well, the problem with Judaism is that you can be white and be a Jew because European Jews are very pale.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like they consider it a minority when it's convenient and like in critical theory, but when it's not convenient, like Jews are essentially white. And they justify it because if you look at how Jews compare to the rest of society, like they're in the upper echelon. So they say that that's because they pass for white and they're white complicit. Like all these words are things that get tossed around in CRT, which are absolutely ridiculous. Like, yeah, we could go into CRT stuff nonstop on the stream. We've done so much looking into it that like when we hear about like crazy CRT stuff that's going on in schools, we're just like, yep, sounds about right. Par for the course.
Our first broadcast of this show was August 1st, 2020.
Yep.
So it's been almost
a year, dude.
Almost a year now.
Fuck. It's been a fast one too, man.
And I just wanted to start talking about it because it was like it was something I was aware of for a long time, and I just felt like more people need to be talking about it. And then like right after that, like 2 months later, it exploded as a topic in the news.
I saw it when it fucking happened, man. And I was watching one of the streamers streaming channels that was streaming this stuff, man, and I saw it happen in real time. And and it was confusing as fuck to begin with. But so the first guy that gets shot, he wasn't even Rittenhouse that did it. It was somebody with a pistol, right?
Yeah, actually, I sent you a link to the video of the entire thing.
You want to go to the go to that?
You want to? Yeah, like. Johnny, by the way, when he goes live, you can right click on his name and watch it. You're not going to need to though, because all he's going to play is the consolidated 4 camera angles of all the footage, which I know you have seen more times than probably anybody on the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But we should probably go ahead and play it just so for like context, people understand who we're talking about. We're talking about this kid from Kenosha that showed up. That morning to clean up graffiti, decided to stick around with this AR-15 to protect property and administer first aid. that got chased down by rioters, not protesters, and shot people that were literally attacking him. And I mean, to be honest, like some of them were nut jobs, and the others, like, how the hell is he gonna know what they're gonna do to him? He's carrying a rifle, and they're trying to take it from him. What does he think is gonna happen if his rifle is in the hands of these people attacking him? So let's just go ahead and play it just to make sure that.
Sure. Yeah, and it runs right around 5 minutes in real time. It starts out with some nice still shots. I like the way you did this, man. It looks good.
It really broke my heart to watch it break down in real time because.
I mean, it's a sad situation. That's one thing where, like, I'm not sitting here thinking that, like,
What are you doing out here? Obviously, you're armed, and
people that say Kyle's a
business
hero.
we saw burning last
I am
night. So what's up?
not seeing as a hero. Like, I believe he had a sense of duty. This is something I know you've talked about, John Dread, and I actually think that a lot of people have the world completely upside down, right? Like, in a free society, people should, like, the way people should actually look at this situation is a whole bunch of people showed up to riot and burn shit down. And when they got there, there were armed citizens that were just like, don't riot and burn shit down, please. And they decided to do it anyway. Like, it's the opposite of what the I guess the dumb argument, Kyle shouldn't have been there. Like, no, the rioters shouldn't have been there. The rioters created the dangerous situation. Like, yes, Kyle knew that a dangerous situation might arise, but they were there to stop the dangerous situation. And they proceeded anyway.
He was there to help people. He had his med kit and. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, Johnny. You've watched this tape a gorillion times. Am I watching Kyle have a jam in the middle of everything right before Gage tries to shoot him?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mark did an expose on that where he focused on that. I don't know what's going on there, but I don't think that Kyle, with his skills, could have cleared a jam that quickly.
Okay.
And so, and to be honest with you, it works in his favor that it wasn't. Because then it makes it clear that he alone decided not to shoot Gage at that moment. If it was a jam, it could claim, well, he would have shot Gage if it was functioning correctly. But, you know, I own an AFP. I don't think he could have cleared the jam under that kind of pressure that quickly.
Okay.
And so I don't think so, no. And there's been no actual mention of it being a jam anywhere other than like people on some social media which caused or to kind of examine that in further. I don't believe it is.
Okay. Okay.
We'll never know because Kyle's not taking a stand. If he writes his book after he gets done, he might.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you ever want to roll the tape?
Yeah, let's go ahead and play it so that just to make sure that everybody in our audience like understands the situation we're talking about. We probably should have done this a little bit earlier, but I assume most of the people that we watch knows about this. But you know what happens when you assume.
Exactly.
Hey, assuming has killed Kyle in this whole thing. It's just assumption after assumption, you know. So it's good.
Well, it seems to be like the modus operandi for our culture these days is just assumptions, nothing but.
Yeah, the whole idea about Kyle being there to provoke people into confrontation was all based on assumptions. And when you don't have any information, that's what you do. You start to fill in the gaps. And unfortunately, they added 2 and 2 and got 3. And on almost everything. I mean, how is it that Kyle had the gun carried across state lines, which did not happen? Well, they made an assumption. He's from Illinois. He was in Wisconsin. He must have carried the gun across state lines. Never considering the fact that there might be another explanation for that. But that's
and the worst part is like it doesn't matter.
No.
Like, that's the worst part about all of that. They like to throw
you can actually prove it to them that it wasn't, and the next day they'll be back saying it, because we're now in the age of propaganda, and we don't care now if the message is correct as long as it gets what we want. And so, yeah,
I actually have a lot to say about that. What you just said right there is the method. It doesn't have to be correct. It just has to be what they want, which is fit the narrative.
Right.
But let's go ahead and play this real quick, so that just because I want to make sure that everybody watching knows the situation we're talking about.
Right. And it starts off with stills. So a couple of stills, and then it goes into the there's actually 4 different angles at sometimes, but it's
I'll
primarily
never forget
3.
watching this happen live, like real time. This
Me
was
either,
just
man.
horrifying to watch, man.
It was crazy.
Fuck.
Hamburger arm.
What are you doing out here? Obviously, you're armed, and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night. So what's up?
So people are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
So this is the first person that chased after Kyle, just showing how he's kind of unhinged.
Oh, you're with the group? We just go
everything you got. Shoot me, nigga. Shoot me, nigga. Bust on me, nigga.
Well, somebody grants his wish in a second.
Yeah, that's Antifa, man.
Asking you shall receive.
Oh, we got a gun, baby. Ooh, they shoot.
brought in the. Oh, those are gunshots down there. Get back. In Lakota.
Shot him, man. Shot him. Shot him, man. He laid him out. He laid him out, you guys. He laid him out.
So Kyle was over there, right? He was making a phone call, and then he started running away.
He was calling the person they're supposed to call when stuff goes wrong. It's basically their version of a dispatcher.
But Rittenhouse did not. This guy was not shot by Rittenhouse.
No, he was.
Oh, he was. He was. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I was under the impression that he had been shot with a pistol.
I purposely didn't give you like the time slowed version. That's like a 20-minute video.
Right.
But what happened in that situation where he was being chased is Kyle was walking around. I think Johnnie, correct me if I'm wrong, but they mistook him for the person that put out the fire.
I don't know.
I thought they were different people, or was it him?
Well, one thing is for sure, when this thing news first broke, everybody that watched the footage got Kyle mixed up with this other dude, and this other dude clearly was not in good spirits with Rosenbaum. Rosenbaum was chewing him out, talking about him pointing his gun at him. Clearly wasn't Kyle; it was somebody else. I was the judge at that time, so we know where Kyle was. Now, did Rosenbaum attack Kyle because he mistook him for that other guy? We don't know, and we never will.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be sure, but that's what I was thinking, like what you didn't see before. But like in this instance, what happened is what a lot of people miss is Kyle was running away after already being chased. The fact that Rosenbaum threw a bag with whatever might have been in there, that doesn't actually matter. What a lot of people miss is that a shot was fired in Kyle's direction by somebody else, right? It was just a shot in the air. And he ran until he was cornered. And even in the I'm pretty sure it's even in the prosecution's report, right? That Rosenbaum attempted to grab the gun and Kyle shot.
All right, so this guy didn't get shot in the head, though. He was shot in the back, wasn't he?
They
Okay.
mistakenly were treating him for a head wound whenever
Right.
it was actually another bullet that like ricocheted into his liver.
Right.
Now, what happened was that, and we know this because of, first of all, the video evidence seems to support it, and McGinnis testified to it. Well, not sworn, but testimony that Rosenbaum lunged after Kyle, but it looks like he fell short. And as he was falling down in front of Kyle, Kyle opened fire. The bullet went down through his back. It went through the top of his lungs and down through his liver.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people think that shot in the back, Rosenbaum must have turned away. No, that's not what happened. And it's pretty clear on video that Richard McGinnis's testimony seems to support. All indications are that Rosenbaum lunged after Kyle and then missed. And Kyle just, remember, Kyle squeezed off like 4 shots in about, I think it was like 2 seconds. And so that last one, Rosenbaum was already falling down, and Kyle caught him. So yeah, it sounds bad being shot in the back, but in reality, it was.
Well, no, it makes sense.
It's not like Rosenbaum turned around and was like, you know what, I shouldn't be attacking somebody.
This
that
is
has a
fast
rifle in
shit.
their hands.
Right. It really
Right.
happened quickly.
Tale as old as time. Going for the business end of a freaking gun is a bad idea.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah,
what the irony here is that a lot of people, I think this might be one of your, but like Kyle had a gun, so they were scared and they attacked him. And I was like, that's actually the opposite of the logic. Like, if somebody is obviously has a gun, you don't attack them, because if you're going to attack somebody that has a gun that is capable of lethal force very quickly, like, what is your thought if you're being attacked and you are openly brandishing a gun?
Well, he's telling
Like,
him to
or you
shoot.
openly
He's
have a
telling
gun
the
out.
dude to go ahead and shoot me. Shoot me. You
Yeah,
know? It's like, what the fuck?
I think all of that is secondary to the idea that if you're going to try to physically attack somebody that you know has a firearm, that gives the person that owns the firearm, who is openly showing he has a firearm, even more reason to believe that this person is going to cause me seriously bodily harm or death. Am I wrong there, Johnny?
No, you're not wrong, but I do have another theory that nobody has talked about. I have on my channel, is that the AR-15 has become such a political symbol that people have forgotten that it's actually a dangerous weapon. And they look upon these people carrying these things around, and all they can focus on is what the AR-15 represents. And they forget that it is a rifle. And I think a lot of if Kyle had been carrying a shotgun, they might not have tried to grab the barrel. But for some reason, even though everybody crazy about the immense horrors that the AR-15 brings on, I don't think they have a lot of respect for it, and they should have, because, like, if you look at Huber and Grosskreutz and pretty much every, they weren't scared enough of that AR-15 that they should have.
You're right.
It's, I mean, the other thing that's really kind of interesting about it is this propensity to try to grab the barrel of a rifle to take it away from somebody has gotten a lot of people killed here lately. And that actually might have showed up in the Ahmaud Arbery case as well. But when you grab a hold of a barrel and pull on, if he's got his finger on the trigger, you're basically pulling the trigger for him. And I have a feeling that's what happened with Huber.
You're creating the squeeze.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, the AR-15, it's people, they just get blind rage about the rifle and kind of forget that, you know, it is a powerful rifle, not super powerful. It's you know, relatively powerful, but it can kill you. And they seem to forget that.
Yep, totally agree.
All right, you all ready?
Yep.
Get roll for the rest.
Yeah, there was another thing. The idea that Kyle was not shot that Rosenbaum was not shot by Kyle came about because of the shot in the back. People were theorizing that it must have been from somebody else. No, it was Kyle's rifle, no doubt about it.
Because I've heard reports it was like a 9mm so that was wrong.
Yep, it's actually amazing how much like bad reporting has been happening on this, and from any angle.
Well, right, and then MSM on top of it.
They're just
yeah.
If you're just passively or reading articles here and there, you're not going to get the story right.
Well, especially if you see it on MSM, because they have to paint this in a light that supports their political narrative, man. And you know, and it puts him in the bad guy. This dude, in my opinion, I don't think he did anything wrong. Okay, I think that given the situation, I would have probably done the same thing. I might have ended up dead, but
I might have done worse, to be honest. When we watch this next part of the video.
All right, let's roll. All right, we'll roll that.
Actually, before we move on, I'd like to say that I have toyed with the idea of how many people would be dead if it had been me. Because the fact he only shot those that attacked him, I'm not sure I wouldn't have been that restrained. I've never been in that situation before. How the hell would I know if I was going to be cool, calm, and only fire at people that directly attacked me? There have been 3 or 4 of the people I might have killed that night.
Right, and that what's his name, Ross Kreutz, he waited until he saw the dude pulling up the gun. I mean, God, it's like it was very disciplined. For somebody his age, it was very impressive. His control over the weapon and his usage of it was very disciplined. All right. So
I completely agree. It's absolutely crazy, actually, how he only pulled the trigger on people that really were a threat to him. Right.
By the way, go ahead.
Well, I'm saying, like, all these other people coming after him could have been considered a threat to his safety, but he was really restrained and very selectively fired. It's actually insane how selective his firing was when this mob was chasing him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say that on one of my latest videos, which is going to be a big deal here because it's going to affect people's impressions of the Rittenhouse trial, but don't trained security guard. He shows really good gun handling skills, but he did not face the serious threat that Kyle did, and he shot the guy in the head. And so, yeah, given that, Kyle did really well.
He's right here in his head, Come on! Put pressure. Second row. Hey, keep your eyes open.
Yeah, get down.
You shot him?
I didn't.
Hey, you're okay.
Let me talk to him. Dude, there's not enough shit to pressure on this shit. Yeah, but you gotta keep him alive. Just talk to me, bro.
I was trying to follow along the bottom left before you should focus on.
Actually, the right's got better light. It's a better angle on the left.
He's calling.
Notice how many other gunshots are being fired, even though that's not Kyle.
See his chest.
Get back. Okay,
It's Kyle trying to surrender right there to the cops. that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a lot of people have missed, and I missed it at first, was that Huber, I thought Huber's first attempt to hurt Kyle was when he was hitting him in the shoulder. That's not the case. He tried to kill him. As he is running, he takes a really long, wide swipe at Kyle's head with the skateboard and hits him. The skateboard goes sliding off to the left. Huber grabs it and goes after Kyle again.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of your dumb arguments. It's like a skateboard versus a gun is unfair. It was something similar to that. But the fact of the matter is like a skateboard, like the truck's not a skateboard. Like I know what skateboards can do. Those things hurt, right? Like if you swing it like a bat, you're going to face serious damage, especially aimed at your head.
Yeah.
Because otherwise is a goddamn fucking idiot and doesn't understand what skateboard trucks are made of, right? It's like sort of aluminum alloy at worst.
Oh, you could really fuck somebody up with a skateboard, man. You pop them in the face with the trunks, you cave their face in and keep their fucking forehead in.
There was the one in Orange County. The man got hit in the skateboard and killed him. It's killed a bunch of people because these kids use them as weapons. It's like a Brit would have a knife. They take skateboards around because they get around on them. They're used as weapons, and Huber certainly did.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to go back. I just want to make sure I want to make clear to YouTube right now that we're not glorifying violence. Like, no. It is sad that people lost their lives in the situation, but people have a right to self-defense. That's a real thing. And I like when I go through Twitter and I like read your dumb arguments, those are coming from a place where people just don't believe that anymore. Right? One of the worst ones is like, he's not a cop. Right? The cops actually have no obligation to protect you or your property.
No.
If you call the cops and they don't come and save you, they're not liable.
No. And they won't protect your property because it's not in their purview. They might if you pay them, but usually no. If you call the cops and say, "Hey, I need my property protected," they'll just tell you to go pound sand.
Yep. Right. I mean, this kind of goes back to like the CRT thing where they're trying to dismantle liberal society, but like one of the bedrocks of liberal society, and I'm talking, by the way, Johnny, just so you're clear, every time we use the word liberal on this particular stream, we're talking about the ideas of liberalism from the Enlightenment, not the colloquial liberal term that we refer to as the left. But one of the bedrocks is that private property is sacrosanct, like, or just owning property is sacrosanct, right? Like, we have to have this conflict resolution system where we understand that people own property and that violating their rights is like, it's a no-go. Like, we can't be civilized if we don't believe in property. And a lot of that could be a dumb argument video of its own, right? Well, it was just property. In fact, I think you might have one. Oh, you have one similar. It was insured.
Here's where the hypocrisy also creeps in, because it just being property, and these are just big corporations, they have insurance. No, the big corporations that you hate that have insurance. It's the small business owner that can't cover this. Right. And they don't do that. Admiral Kidry, he owns the 2 car lots and the mechanic shop, which got torched. He's out. He has no insurance on it. And those weren't his cars. They were on consignment. So he owes everybody all in those cars that got burned.
Wow.
So furthermore, they torch the cars. The city is fining him every day for him not clearing the cars off the lot. The insurance company who he's battling with says, we're not going to even come out if you take the cars off the lot. We are not going to even go there for an adjustment. So he has to keep the cars on the lot so that the insurance company will come out, but the city is fining him if he does so. So, you know, and in the end, he didn't get anything.
And some of those insurance companies are just like, oh, it was a riot? Well, that's not covered.
It's not an act of God.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, you know, who's going to put vandalism coverage to $2 million? You have to pay for that. And most of these guys, when they do their risk assessments, they're going to say, well, I'll get maybe some busted out headlights. I might get some tire stab. They can't dream that they're going. All 137 cars are going to get torched to the ground. And so if they are insured, they're vastly underinsured. So, yeah, they're out.
Yeah, I mean, it's so ridiculous. Like, I'm just looking at this. How can any sane person just sit there and think that Kyle Rittenhouse is a murderer given the situation? Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. It does. My brain cannot wrap my head around the like all of the dumb arguments you gave. Basically explain why I can't wrap my head around it. Like, even the argument, like he was underage.
All right, well, hold on. All right, whoa. All right, let's do a whataboutism, okay? And say, all right, so what if the guy, the Kreutz, I can't ever remember the beginning of his name. What if he had drawn on him and shot Kyle right there? What do you think? Would he have been defending himself? Go ahead.
No.
I'm actually lost on what you just said.
The age thing. Here's the thing. A lot of the anti-Kyles, as I call them, come from very urban areas, and a lot of them are from overseas, and they just can't understand a kid having a rifle. They just don't get. I mean, they can't picture that. And so when they hear kid with rifle shoots people, and as far as they're concerned, they can't come up with a logical basis for how that could happen. So they dream up all of these arguments to sort of pin him in the old guilt box. But ultimately, they don't understand self-defense. What was really shocking to me, complete lack of understanding among people who consider themselves the Illuminati on basic law. And so they think that a kid walking around with a rifle has to break every law in the book, and therefore everything is, let's say, translated into the most negative terms possible to paint him guilty.
Well, then all that's ridiculous anyway, because first off, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, people that make the age argument, right? They're almost saying like, what, 4, 6? I don't actually know how long, right? But if Kyle's 18 now, right? So they bring up the fact that he was 17, and they pretend that, well, that's a big deal. But then when you ask him, would it have been okay if it would have been for whatever 6 months later and he was 18? And they don't have a response to that, right? Mm-hmm. They're just like, they don't get it.
Yeah, it's 4 months. But yeah, you know, and also they picture these 17-year-old kids as 12-year-olds. They kind of forget that Audie Murphy, and I've mentioned this many times, who's our most decorated soldier in history, was quite a bit younger than Kyle when he went into the Army.
Well, you mean that's that Schrodinger's agency?
So,
where it's I call it Schrodinger's agency when we talk about teenagers in modern society, because on one hand, It's for the children, protect the children, ban the guns to protect the children, and then on the other hand, it's let 16-year-olds vote.
Yeah. The hypocrisy there is everywhere. But again, it's all based on convenience.
Can I bring up Binger now?
I was a young kid when it's convenient to get him guilty. When it comes to the punishment they would administer, he's treated as an adult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That doesn't escape me.
Hey, I've seen Helen back a couple of times, like 3 or 4 times actually. Audie Murphy. That's a great parallel, I think. Good example.
It's also kind of Audie Murphy was not only a lot younger, he was smaller.
Mm-hmm.
He was only like about 5'5", 5'6". So he would have looked even smaller and younger than Kyle.
Oh. Kyle is pretty babyface Steven still now.
Yeah. That's another thing that kind of bothers me a little is I can look at Kyle, and to me, the first impression I get when I see him is seems like a nice kid.
Right.
Evil. And I don't see where they're getting it. Nothing about his appearance comes off as dark, sinister. But they see that.
Yeah, I just see a good old boy. Like, that's all I see. All the pictures I've seen of him, his clothes are always just a little eschewed, like he's been doing a bunch of silly, stupid stuff, or he's been busy working and doing things. Fingertips are always a little dirty.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like a busy kid. He looks like a teenager to me. He does physically resemble somebody I know in real life, so maybe I do have a bit of bias towards him, but I don't know. I don't see any kind of, I don't even see anybody with an aggressive personality there.
He's not a criminal.
No.
I think it's hard to make that kid mad.
Maybe.
Yeah, the one time he got in that fight at the school, he's clearly not a fighter. He's swinging wide. He's not landing anything. He looks to me like he's never really been in.
Well, and even to that point where it's like you can't look at somebody with some random video out of context of some shit they did in high school. That's just stupid.
Well, if you really want to see some of the real sad reporting, Vice, when they went to his high school and interviewed his classmates, that was irresponsible. And I remember back in the day when Vice was a really good news channel. And they went out. I saw them when they did some stuff in Liberia, and then all of a sudden things changed and they became TMZ. And so they go to his school, and they're asking his classmates, and they're taking the words of a bunch of high schoolers at face value. And come on.
Yeah, and most of it was teenage girls. I have 3 daughters. I'm not going to mince words. Yeah. I'm not going to mince words. I know what girls do. I know how they look for attention. And I know how modern society works and what our currency is. Oh, Lord.
You would have a hard time getting the truth out of any high schooler on something like this.
Yeah.
And it's just,
especially current year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Current year, look at that broad that bragged about bullying the school shooter in Florida Parkland. The Parkland shooter?
Right.
The girl, Gabrielle.
Right.
She bragged about bullying him all throughout school. And she was given accolades and awards and included in a whole bunch of LGBT stuff.
And a scholarship to Harvard or some shit like that. Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So of course these kids are looking at the big slice of pie they can get.
Activism.
So,
by the way, I gave Logical Checkmate a link to our Discord. Hopefully, he is better. He's better at joining than, or has more experience with Discord. with his PC and does not run into the technical problems that Johnnie did. But Logical Checkmate, I think you would be a good addition. So look out just if he joins.
I will.
But keep in mind, this is probably not a good time for him, being like a 10, I think he's on 12-hour difference.
Yeah, like it's super. Well, it's either super early. Yeah, it's super early for him.
Yeah,
Good morning.
I think he's probably really early.
Yep. It was an offer, not a requirement.
I would
What do you
suggest
ask him in the chat?
just contacting Neil V Radio. He's a progressive. He has a lot to say about the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, actually, I think that's actually a decent recommendation. So I'll let you. I actually don't know that person, so message me his channel on Twitter, and I'll look him up. And for the future,
He's the one that got Zeminski arrested. You guys know who Zeminski is?
No.
no,
Okay.
tell me the
Not
story.
my name.
Okay, well, Zeminski is the one that fired the first shot. And he is an absolute jackass. He has a criminal record that runs 3 pages in the database.
Oh, shit.
At one time was going to do sort of a rundown of his criminal record, and I gave up. It was just too vast. None of it is like super serious, but he's jumped bail 3 times. He's just a guy who's just completely irresponsible. His wife is just as bad as he is. But at any rate, they had a gunshot that went off. Everybody saw that did it, and it was Neil and 4chan exposed Zeminski, and they ended up arresting him. And then, if you want to see an interesting video, go to Neil's channel, because he has a war, an online war he has Zeminski over this whole thing. Zeminski not happy about being arrested. So they're insulting each other like crazy.
Actually, now that you think about it, I did watch that, right? Like I saw his V Radio. I now remember it. He did a whole thing about how he's talking to this guy, and he's just making a bunch of shit up in V Radio. It's like, that doesn't compute. It was like, that was the same guy, so V Radio was the same person where, one of the things that Zeminski said to V Radio was, he pointed a gun at me and my wife, threatened our lives.
Yep.
There's no reason to believe that it's even remotely true.
Yeah.
Sounds like something you would say if you might have fired a shot that might have caused the situation to escalate a lot and end up with 2 people dead and 1 injured.
Well, I'm just kind of interested as to why Neil didn't ask him, dude, do you realize you got your friend killed? Because Rosenbaum is Zeminski's buddy.
Mm-hmm.
They were there together that night. And it was Zeminski's firing of the weapon that caused Kyle to turn around Rosenbaum. So, I mean, does he feel responsible for what happened? Probably not.
I mean, probably as responsible as Gage does. It's actually really terrible watching Gage Gross, or whatever his last name is. Watching Gage in these hearings, talking about what happened, what he told his friend, the only thing I regret is he just burnt the motherfucker right then and there, or something along those lines, right? It's actually, all he did is provide proof that if Kyle would not have shot, he would have been executed that night.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that he didn't have perfect knowledge, but with Rosenbaum's mental health history and what was going on with him, I'm also pretty sure that if Kyle would have just tried to beat up JoJo, which he would not have been able to do, much smaller dude, that Rosenbaum would have killed him that night. I'm pretty sure that's what would have happened. In fact, I don't think there's a single shot fired that, if it wasn't fired, would have ended up with Kyle being dead.
You know that like less than 2 weeks later, Jay Danielson was executed on the streets of Portland, right?
Nobody.
I mean,
nobody talks about that. I mean, that's
no one but us Portlanders.
that was just somebody that was guilty of wrongthing dying. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying like the information was driven quite heavily home that whatever this BLM thing was last summer, it was dangerous and deadly if you tried to protect your stuff. So, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be allowed to interject with stuff like that into the case, though. I don't think it really helps the argument.
No, they won't be able to bring that up. Here's what I think would have happened. If Rosenbaum had taken Kyle's weapon, I think he would have shot him.
I think so too.
If Huber had managed to get the gun away from Kyle, I don't think Huber would have shot Kyle. But he would have certainly gladly sat and watched the rest of the mob tear him to pieces.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been him. It would have been one of the other people that were attacking him.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, I don't think Huber would have.
Dropkick guy.
Yeah. And as far as Gage goes, I'm on the fence on that one. Gage doesn't seem to be quite as irresponsible as the others. But at the same time, I don't think he would have stopped anybody from attacking Kyle, who would have been defenseless at that point. I don't think he could have.
I think Grosskreutz wanted to kill him.
That's something that was relayed secondhand in Facebook. That was his only regret, that he didn't just pull the trigger when he could have.
I can understand his making an argument that because of what Kyle did to Huber, I can maybe see a response to that. So I'm not necessarily convinced that he would have killed Kyle if he'd have gotten Kyle's gun, but he could not have stopped the mob from just tearing Kyle from limb to limb.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's irrelevant to Kyle's self-defense case.
Right.
Like speculating what could have happened is probably the start of all of your dumb arguments. I actually have them all up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I logged them all just for the stream. I actually kind of want to go through them. It'd be sick to find some of them. I'm not going to go through them all, but some of them are more like better than they're better to talk to than others. Yeah. Well, I thought they were all out of order. I think there was one that actually was.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, I'd like to know about it, but I'd like to get them in order. But trying to get them in order on the playlist might be a little hard.
Yeah, you had a 35.2. So you had one that was Kyle Rittenhouse video number 35, where Kyle admitted he was in big trouble. That was the one that didn't fit.
Oh, okay, I'll go back and fix it.
Otherwise, I have them all like laid out. So like your first one is we don't have to go through these all, actually we'll go through them all, but we don't have to talk about them all. Sure. So your first one was Kyle should have stayed with Rosenbaum after he shot him.
Yeah, good. Oh, yeah, that's a good smart thing to do.
Especially with all the people that were like crazy around him. He totally should have just stayed there and waited for whatever. Number 2 was Kyle not calling 911 means he's guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So the cops already decided they were not going into that area. What would have called 911 done for him? That was a pretty dumb argument.
Just quickly though, people tend to call people they know when they think that something horrible has happened. It's really common.
So this is one where like this is just the fantasy of the people that are anti-Kyles. Number 3 was Kyle set out to shoot people that night.
That's the most pervasive.
Yeah. Not much to say about that other than it's ridiculous. Here's one that is actually worth talking about, is that Wendy Rittenhouse should go to jail.
Oh, geez, I still hear it. But this is again where assumptions. People assume, well, he got there. He doesn't drive. He's got his license revoked. She must have driven him there. Therefore, she must have driven him to the protest. Therefore, she knew all about what was going on. Yeah.
Yeah, like it goes further. It's like Wendy drove Kyle with a gun to the protest that night, let him get out, take his gun, and move on. That's not what happened at all. Not even close, right? Like dropped him off the night before. Had no idea. In fact, I wouldn't doubt it if Wendy Rittenhouse, if Kyle would have said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna drop me at my friend's house." Dominic Black, right?
Yeah.
Drop me off at my friend's house, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a whole bunch of rifles, and we're just gonna hang out and stop these violent protests. If Kyle would have told his mom that, she would have been like, "I ain't driving you anywhere. You're staying home."
Yeah.
Kyle brought his gun against state lines. That's funny. Like, so when I was before the stream, I was like, kind of like just trying to follow Kyle Rittenhouse tweets. I love this dude named Chintry. And every time this point comes up, he gives a little text just like, "Congratulations on falsely accusing Kyle Rittenhouse of bringing a gun against straight lines." And he always has like a really cool gift for that. So it shouldn't have happened. Number 6.
Oh, hang on a second. This is an interesting argument because it shows just how little the Illuminati know about law. That they would even think that the state line has any bearing on it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for self-defense at all. Number 6, he should have been there.
Yeah, boy.
We already talked about that one. I turned that one upside down. My honest thought of that is, God, and this kind of goes back to like how even critical theory is trying to degrade society. But like I said, property rights, they're the bedrock of our society. Like the fact that people are there to protect private property is a good thing. Like we shouldn't shun people for that. And I'm not calling a hero for doing it. It's like you said, you've said a billion times. He had a sense of duty to his community. And that's a good thing. Kyle's use of a gun is unfair. That was number 7. Kyle wasn't a local. That's number 8. Kyle bought his gun with a stimulus check. Let's elaborate on that one a little bit.
It's amazing how much traction that got. Like, there's people out there that really think it makes a difference.
Like maybe it was Trump's money, that his blood money from the president.
Yeah.
Trump.
To give some context, like it wasn't really a straw purchase necessarily, but Kyle is 17. He's about to turn 18. If he wants to be a gun owner when he turns 18, right? But he's also in Wisconsin that has some laws where it makes it so that like you can use the gun, you can work with it. So what he does is he gives the money to somebody else to just buy the gun. That person bought the gun. He owned the gun. He held the gun, right? Giving money to people is not illegal. People buying guns that are of age to buy guns is not illegal. So that's all that happened. He trusted a friend with his money to purchase a gun that eventually will be transferred to him if he can get it.
Okay.
I don't really see an issue with it.
No, that's a very pro-Kyle stance. I think that the truth might be a little bit uglier. I have nothing to base this on. But I think that Dominic bought the gun for Kyle, and his dad saying, "You can't do that. You know, you realize you may have broken a whole bunch of laws here. I'm going to take the gun and put it in for storage, and when he turns 18, we'll sell it to him." So I think Dominic may have initially just the rifle for Kyle. No, but I'm just saying that there can be another story out there.
I can see that. And like when you say it's pro Kyle, it's also like this is the first time we've actually talked. I am a very libertarian on everything. Not conservatarian, I'm just kind of libertarian. So when I see stuff like this, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I just don't care. Like, I get what you're saying, like, for a matter of law, I just don't care, right? Like, if he wanted to give his money to somebody because he wants a gun eventually, like, I don't care.
Yeah, I think the fact that the dad took the rifle, as far as I'm, it makes it a moot point. Kyle didn't get possession of the rifle. It's just me.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that I know you've done videos on, but Dominic Black has a pretty good defense from all this, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
Your number 10 was being charged equals guilty.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't have charged him if they didn't have the goods on him. That's the argument. Like Zimmerman, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, no, I also see it like, so when I'm like searching through Twitter for anti-Kyles, like he's charged with murder 2 people, right? Like, and they use that as if it's as good as being guilty, and it's not. It's just not.
Yeah.
Number 11, we actually already talked about this. Kyle was acting like a cop.
Yeah.
Not only was he not acting like a cop, but it turns out that cops don't defend property.
Nope.
This one's really dumb. Number 12. Like, this is one of the dumbest ones I've seen, and I have seen this even in my little, like, perusing of Twitter. Kyle terrified protesters with his gun.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm terrified of a person with a gun, I'm staying the hell away from them.
One of the other ones is like Kyle went to Kenosha as a militiaman. That doesn't even make sense. I know that your video explains it, but like just plain language, Kyle went to Kenosha as a militiaman. So who cares? Number 14 is one of the ones where you actually did against the pro Kyles, which is Kyle is a hero.
You know, the definition of hero varies. I think if you want to think of teachers as heroes, that's kind of a lower bar than like people like Audie Murphy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So almost anybody a hero, but my argument wasn't so much that he was or wasn't a hero, but it was just a really bad thing to be doing. I mean, you don't want to turn him into Horst Wessel. And I don't know if you're talking about, but you know, that the German SA leader that got killed, they made him into a causa celebre, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not like Kyle is a hero, but at the same time, like so there's the other extreme where like Kyle. Well, I don't want to say the other extreme, but you've heard these people, right? I think Kyle shouldn't have been there, and it could have all been could have been prevented if he wasn't there. However, like I don't, I think he was not guilty of murder, and I don't take that stance. Like I think that he showed up for a good cause. I think that cause is fine. I think that American men should show up to the cause. I don't think it makes you a hero, right? The reality is that they showed up and they're like, we have armed resistance to stop you from rioting, looting, and burning down our city. Right. And that show of force enough should have deterred people from doing such. So Kyle being one of the people that showed up with a like saying, hey, we're armed resistance to the rioting, looting, and arson you're going to do. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think that was an issue. I don't think it makes him heroic, but I do think that it's a fine thing to do, and I think it's morally justifiable.
If he knew he was going to be attacked and he went and did it anyway, he didn't know that this was going to happen.
Of course not. Like, no way. Most likely he thought that the fact that he was sitting there with a bunch of other people, and I know we got separated, which is, I think it's on here somewhere, from his group. But I think he showed up thinking he was doing a good thing. And I agree with what he thought he was doing was going to be a good thing. And this goes back to like, he wasn't even showing up as a counter protester. He was just saying, you can go protest, go do whatever you want. I don't give a shit. Just do not burn down private businesses, please.
Mhm.
It seems like a perfectly reasonable thing for a citizen of a community, which is, we're going to get to that dumb argument here pretty soon. But
this does show you though the rural versus urban divide. If you go into the urban area, into the rural areas, they would not think that what Kyle did was all that out of the ordinary. Urban people, they're like, "Are you kidding? To film in somebody else's property?" They wouldn't even think of it because in the high areas, you only look after your own stuff.
yeah, it's actually really sad that people think that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but from where I'm from, getting your rifle and going out and defending your neighbor's property, that would not be uncommon at all.
I mean, of course not. Like, this is one, like, I go back to one of the bedrocks of Western civilized society is understanding private property rights and why it is sacrosanct. Like, you can't have a society where people think that attacking private property is okay. Like, if the majority of people think, it doesn't matter what system, under socialism, capitalism, doesn't matter. Any society that thinks it's okay to just go burn and loot private property, it's gonna fail.
You just can't maintain any kind of society with that outlook. And I'm sorry, but when you burn somebody's business down, it's real harm. And they say, well, it's just material things.
Oh yeah, and just material things. I understand people that make businesses, dude. Like, blood, sweat, tears, risk of everything goes on the line for people that start small businesses.
Well, even if even if insurance, pays for everything, their rates are going fucking up, right?
Of course.
I mean, it's the gift that keeps giving, is what I'm saying.
So Tima lives in the Portland area. If I was an insurance company in the Portland area, I wouldn't insure shit.
I'd move the fuck out.
It's like no insurance.
It's actually a
available here.
problem. It's actually a problem that downtown Portland is having, is that businesses are leaving in droves because insurance companies won't cover them anymore. It's just no deal.
Fair enough.
Hashtag not surprised.
The insurance companies are the evil ones, right? Those evil insurance companies. Hey man, we're not in the business here to lose money. We're a charity business.
Yeah, it turns out insurance companies, they're designed, like, the reason you have insurance is you're betting against yourself, right? Like, if you were completely like, I am risk adverse, you should not buy insurance. But nobody knows that, so you buy it. And insurance companies know that most people, they're not going to cost them a lot of money. Like,
well, you can't run a business in Portland without insurance.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that too. That's what I'm saying. Like, so insurance companies, when they're put in this position where we should at least always be in a win-win situation. And then you look at a place like Portland where there's just like, the government's not even trying to stop these buildings from being burnt down. And they're like, yep, I'm out of here because I'm not going to win on this situation, no matter how much I charge them per month.
Next.
God, dude, I was only at number 14. Oh, Kyle is guilty because his attackers only wanted to disarm him. That's some fucking mind reading bullshit. So
yeah, I always ask him, "Oh, you asked? What did he tell you?"
Here's one that deserves context that you can give our audience. Kyle's mom is greedy.
Kyle's mom is what? I'm sorry.
Kyle's mom is greedy.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that she was posting up these defense fundraisers for her own pockets, and it was a serious issue for a while there. And so I put that one out there. It's like, yeah, right. I mean, that's just how bad they get. And part of this also was an attempt to discourage people from donating. So if they could convince you that a new yacht or, like a new car, maybe they won't donate to Kyle and then we can starve him out. So I think that's kind of what they were trying to do. I got a lot of it when I was posting my, fundraising ones. People were saying, oh, it's a fraud, it's a phony. And I told them, I don't care. I'm donating anyway. And don't tell me you're concerned about this, because you're not.
I put some money into Kyle's defense too, and it wasn't like I'm pretty sure that it went to the right cause. I did not donate to Lynn and what fucking John Pierce and Linwood, but I did donate to the Free Kyle Fund.
Yeah,
so
Man's close is right.
So I have number 17. Kyle fled from the scene of a crime. That kind of goes back to that JoJo thing.
So he didn't, man.
It didn't happen.
He stayed and was trying to wave the cops down.
He tried to turn himself in.
To turn himself in, man.
So that's
the basis of this one. Well, hang on. The basis of that one is people get confused. They think to the scene of an accident, motor vehicle code. There is no requirement that you have to stay at the scene of a crime. You did it. In fact, who robs a bank and then stays there? I mean, it's insane. And so they hear that you can't leave the scene of an accident. They assume, again, well, that must apply to crimes too.
Do you not disagree? Like, that's actually something I didn't think about, like fleeing the scene of an accident versus like the crime. That's not what Kyle did at all to begin with. Like, he tried to turn himself in. So it's ridiculous. Number 18
until he's been convicted, right?
Oh, hold on. I have 55 of these to go through.
Yeah,
I just really want to go through with you because I think it's fun having you on stream to do it. So number 18, Kyle shows no remorse.
Yeah.
That's nonsense, right? Like, he was crying talking to the interrogators.
Mm-hmm.
Number 19, all I know is Kyle shot 3 people. And I get that. That's where just like, no context, 3 people got shot, right? Like, I've never watched like a war movie or an action movie ever to decide that there might be situations where 3 people get shot. And 3 people needed to get shot for a reason that wasn't nefarious. Number 20 is actually really, really good. Can't claim self-defense if you're carrying a gun illegally.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I don't hear it as much as I used to, but at the time when I wrote, that was really pervasive.
Actually, like, just following Twitter, they always... This goes back to him being underage, right? They're like, he was underage having a gun. And they're like, if you look in the Wisconsin statute, this is where, like, these are people that are trying to be bad lawyers. They look at it like, if you do something illegally to provoke other people, you can't claim self-defense. And they're completely bastardizing what that statute actually says.
It's an example where you didn't read far enough, right? They read down to where they find the first thing that satisfies them and stop.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, also, how the fuck would anybody know? Like, how would Rosenbaum or Gage or Anthony Hubert know that Kyle was underage with that gun? They could.
Why would it fucking matter, right? It doesn't.
Yeah. So like
No,
the idea that in of itself would provoke them is ridiculous because they couldn't have known Kyle's age.
Right.
Wisconsin is in a stand your ground state, number 21.
Yeah.
He didn't stand his
Stand his
ground
ground.
anyway. So like
Oh,
regardless what the law would have been if he had stood his ground.
He was retreating from a mob, a pursuing mob.
Yeah. So like I think am I wrong? Like they've actually said that like, well, it's not a stand your ground state, but you don't actually what do you have a duty to retreat?
God. People are so stupid about that shit, aren't they?
What I'm saying, like, I'm pretty sure even if he didn't have a duty to retreat, he did. Like, it's completely irrelevant because even if you wanted to argue about whether or not Kyle could have just stood his ground, it's irrelevant because he didn't. He ran away.
he wasn't standing his ground.
Right.
Yeah, he never did, so it doesn't make any sense. Kyle wasn't protecting his own property. This is one I see a lot too. Also,
Yeah, that's a Paul Katz special there. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but Paul Katz was one of the early anti-Kyles that came out and was pouring through all of the statutes trying to convict him, and he latched onto that thing about Kyle was not protecting his own property, and yeah, okay.
so number 23 was an attack on you directly, I think, because you're a full-grown man that spends all his time defending Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That's
and
funny.
it's also when you know they're desperate when they start doing that.
Ad homs. Yep.
Well, you know, and not only just any ad hominem, but this, why do you spend so much time doing this? Yeah, well, because people like you, that's my response to them.
Indeed.
It's actually the same reason I've been following it and invited you onto our show today, because I saw injustice.
Yeah.
I have seen nothing but injustice coming
Well,
out of the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
And we got to look, man, hold the mainstream media. Once again, I'm going to bring these assholes up again. The legacy media has twisted this to their fucking narrative. All right. If there's any traitors to this country, it's them.
Mm-hmm.
They're projecting a Marxist doctrine and vilifying people that obviously represent freedom, because I mean it was like, remember the whole thing last year with the riots and everything was, well, who says that democracy's got to be congenial, or whatever the word, and it was like, what the fuck.
Yep. I'm going to go to number 24. Kyle is a fugitive. That's just wrong.
The bail thing. They had him hopping on railroad cars and going from city to city with always looking over his shoulder and all that. Give me a break. That was to the point of being hysterical. There were people in there that he's on the loose. You got to hide. He's on. He's out probably looking to shoot people.
He showed up to every goddamn court appearance that he was supposed to show up to. Fugitives don't do that.
Right.
His attorney, and like one of the things is like, if you're like, I think it was going after Bringer, right? That guy that was bending the law to fit his narrative. Anyway, like they were like, dude, if you want to charge my client with like bond evasion or some crap like that, he'll be in court tomorrow. Number 25, like Kyle's attackers didn't deserve to die. Yeah, irrelevant. I agree with that. They didn't deserve to die, right? Like, but it was like they made their choice, and Kyle Rittenhouse was in a situation where he did not need to decide, like, am I willing to die to not kill these other people.
Right.
I mean, that's what it boils down to. Like, it's a dumb argument. Kyle breaking curfew shows criminal negligence. That's an easy dumb argument because everybody there was breaking curfew.
Exactly.
When you carry a weapon, you are responsible. That's number 27.
Yeah, one of the problems that the anti-Kyles have is they tend to conflate sectors. That might be true in certain settings, like, for example, maybe in the military. That is not codified in law.
Yeah, not so much in that, but there's plenty of people, even that night, that are carrying weapons that didn't get attacked, didn't have to shoot anybody.
Well, and the whole thing about it is they tend to forget that if you do claim self-defense, and so using their argument, you could never actually defend yourself. Because if you did, you probably used a weapon which would negate your self-defense.
Well, exactly. It goes back to what I said earlier about, well, it was unfair that Kyle had a gun. It was like, that's the whole point, right? Like,
exactly.
You should have the great equalizer that's unfair. But you're going to win. Like, if you defend yourself with a weapon versus somebody that's trying to kill you without one. Or with one. Like, that's why you have them. That's why we have the Second Amendment. That is why we have self-defense laws. This goes into Kyle used a scary AR-15. Dumb argument at number 28. You already actually went over this one.
AR-15. That's right, a soldier's rifle.
Number 29 is actually really good. This is one of the videos I thought was very revealing and incredibly, I guess, logical in the way you explained it. But number 29, they were trying to stop an active shooter.
Yeah, they don't know what that means.
Yep.
It's like this. It's stick them with the terrorist argument, stick him as a supremacist, stick him as an active shooter. They just try these labels on him.
Right.
Well, and yeah, like one of the things you said is like there was a difference between an active shooter and a shooter at large, right? Yeah. So when Kyle was running away from these people, like if he was an active shooter, there would have been bodies piled up on the street. He was like shooting fucking everybody. No, he was running away. Like his rifle was pointing down in like the down ready position on the strap. He wasn't trying to shoot anybody while he was running away. And these people took it upon themselves to also just go after him because maybe they thought he was an active shooter. It doesn't really matter. Like they assessed the situation incorrectly. Nobody else would have been shot if they would have just let Kyle go to the police where he was running to. Which he was actually saying, like, I'm running to the police. Like people that were attacking him and yelling at him. He was yelling back and like saying things to show like, I'm not trying to shoot any more people. I just want to get to the police.
Yeah, and that is the police are in plain sight of them. They tried to keep her from getting there.
Yeah, like even before he shot anybody, right? Like he was trying to go through a police barricade and he said, "Turn around, motherfucker."
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm actually just going through your list. So number 30 was Kyle would still be in jail if he was a POC. That really crosses into our realm, which is critical race theory, and it's just false. And you've proven on your channel how this is just false.
Again, this is a case where they have heard about one person who didn't get bail, and they assume that nobody of their color gets it. It's an absolutely ridiculous argument, and I knew that before. And he just had to do that one black kid that kidnapped that little boy and killed him. Well, they just pinned murder on him. they offered him $1.6 million bail.
Well, and I actually loved it. One of the Bailey Unit arguments against with the new judge, right? There's two judges, right? There was one that did the preliminary stuff, but the new one seems like he's no bullshit. And I think that's really good for Kyle. But like he actually came out and was just like, it doesn't really fucking matter where the bail money came from, and like, you know, it's a right. It's in the Constitution. Being here was like, it's a privilege. And he's like, no, it's not. Like, in the 8th Amendment, like, it is actually a right affirmed by the Constitution. That shows you how off the walls fucking Binger is.
Well, Motley and Binger are in a competition to see who can be the dumbest lawyer. And about the time when I think one of them is taking weed, the other one opens their mouth. If I was Schroeder, I would be looking through the codes to see if I could get her bounced out of there. She has for nothing of value. Yeah, she's terrible.
All right, I'm going to go to number 31. Relax, it's insured. We already covered that. Kyle should have just beat up JoJo. That's number 32. Already covered it. Kyle wore latex gloves to cover up his crime. That's so stupid. It's like,
they were nitrile anyway. They weren't latex.
Like, it's been made, but it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, the reason they had gloves on is because she was cleaning her feet up the day earlier.
He wants to know where the list came from. It's a good question.
I missed what was the argument?
Wait, what are you talking about? Like, where did my list of...
Yeah, that you're reading from right now. He's asking, I missed the beginning.
Wait, hold on. I grabbed it straight from Johnny Walker Dread's channel. I will post another link to it.
Yeah, it's actually a playlist.
Expand the link on that.
Before I do that, Kyle went home instead of turning himself in. That's just dumb because it's not the reality that happened. He tried to turn himself in.
Motley said in the actual trial that Kyle passed numerous police stations on his way home. He passed none. And I'm going to map it. So, yeah, she's a basket case.
This is one of the ones where, like, this goes back to, like, what critical theorists want you to think is that Kyle is a domestic terrorist, number 35.
Yeah,
nothing that happened fits that. Nothing about that fits that. Like, what is a terrorist? Somebody that acts for, like, to, like, incite fear against the civilian population for political purposes.
Right.
Nothing of the sort happened.
No.
Wait, number 36, I think everybody should know. Hey, Johnny Walker Dread, are you a lawyer?
No, but I actually read the statutes, which puts me way on the lawyers who haven't. So one of the things that shocked me the most was just how unprepared a lawyer is when they're outside their field. And they get on these YouTube videos and they talk about the trial and stuff, and they get everything wrong. And, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know Wisconsin law on this stuff pretty well now. It's written in English.
Look, if I had to choose between the people that they throw up on court TV versus you as being my lawyer for anything, I would choose you. I don't care if you pass the bar exam. I think you would do a better job than they would.
Well, and the other thing is, a civil lawyer has no chance. They operate in a completely different environment. They don't understand criminal law. And so, yeah, you can read the statutes. They're written in English. They have to be, because if we're going to be held accountable to a law, we have to be able to read them.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. I actually want to talk about that a little bit as soon as I get done. So I'm going to try to get through to number number 55 because you have 55 of these. We're actually pretty far. Like, we're at number 36. Yeah. But yeah, you said what kind of medic carries a gun? My answer to that is every military medic.
Now, see, here's again where you have a lot of people World War II, and they're chiming in, but they didn't. But that's changed. I think the most important thing is that EMTs don't carry weapons because they require the police to secure the area first.
Exactly, which goes right into this. Actually, goes right into your dumb argument number 38, which is
second responder.
Kyle should have let professionals provide first aid. Yeah. Like, they were not going to go into the area. Like, nope. if you were actually there to provide first aid, and the cops aren't going to do their job and actually go into the area, no professionals are going to be there, right? You're relying on voluntary citizens to provide such a service. Number 39 is skateboard is a deadly weapon. We already went through that. Kyle was only a lifeguard. How could he help the injured? All right, that's pretty dumb.
Yeah, that was at the urging of Cheyenne. He asked if I could do that one, so I said sure.
Well, not to mention that, but like a lot of people understand basic first aid. It's not like you're trying to save people's lives necessarily, but I maybe you would. But you're just like, you're injured. Like, I'm gonna make sure that you have the proper treatment so it doesn't turn into anything worse. I mean, that's why people carry first aid kits out in the wilderness when they go camping or some shit, right? Like, it doesn't take a genius to understand that you don't need a professional to provide first aid. First aid is first aid for a reason.
Yeah. As a YMCA lifeguard, his training is beyond what a lot of people think.
Yep. He knows more to do than what I would.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for me, I mean, if you're injured, you're a gunner. If you're around me, I'm just to say,
Yeah, me too, man. I'd be like, I'd be fucking calling other people like, dude, this motherfucker's got a gash in his head. I don't know what to do. Kyle was only a lifeguard. How could he help the injured? That actually goes back to number 38, so we're going to go through. 41, this is one that is actually still very prevalent. Kyle planned the entire thing.
I know. I mean, yeah, at 17, he really concocted this amazing plan to draw people into attacking him so he could shoot them. Amazing.
It requires you to believe that you have to have zero knowledge of the situation.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Like, I'm actually going to go because I'm a fan of defending the indefensible. But how much do you know about the James Field trial? The person from Charlottesville that ran his car into a crowd of protesters, killing.
I know very little.
Yeah, so he unfortunately did not have anybody on his side. Of course not, because he's actually a deplorable. Even though he's a 21-year-old kid, I think he got in with kind of the wrong people, had some bad ideas in his head. But before any of that happened, right, like he was sitting there, he's talking to some other people that he met up with to show up to the Charlottesville rally. Granted, like, you can deplore what they stood for all you want, but they were talking about how they were going to meet up at IHOP later, drove his Mustang around, had people waving them off with guns, found himself in a situation where somebody cracked a bat at the bottom, panicked, drove his car into a bunch of people. He drove away and he got pulled over, and he just pulled right over. Like, he surrendered himself to police. He was crying, said he didn't want to kill anybody. And he got hung for all of that. Now, he was definitely guilty of a crime, right? Manslaughter for sure. Like, I'm not defending what he ended up doing. But he got charged with first-degree premeditated homicide. based on the fact that he posted a meme on his Facebook, which was one of those. It's been around forever. Like people that are in the streets, you just run them over if they're in your way. Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying it's a good meme, but it's something that, like, if you had a good defense, like you could prove that to people. But no, he just got completely hung. Like, and I know I'm defending the indefensible here, but they're trying to do the same thing to Kyle, and I'm actually glad that. Fortunately, Kyle actually does not have any ties to white supremacist groups, like the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel wants to claim he does. And there's legitimate reasons to defend this guy. And I only bring that up. It's an example of the justice system going wrong, because even if all the terrible things, and I think you've said this before too, like, even if all the accusations that Kyle was a white supremacist, like a neo-Nazi, like if they were all 100% true, that he was that person, it would not change the fact that he acted in self-defense that night.
Yeah, we know that, but and this is serious. A lot of people think different elements of the law kick in if you can prove that the other person is a bad dude. And they just don't get it. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, that's not how things work.
What's next?
JoJo was only armed with a plastic bag. We kind of went over this already. Or like,
Yeah.
Kyle didn't fucking know that. Like, it wasn't even in Kyle's decision making, what we saw on video with JoJo throwing a bag at him, it doesn't matter what was in that bag, right? A bullet was fired behind him, and JoJo cornered him and reached for his gun, right? That's what we know, even in the charging documents. Like, I don't have to make that up. That's what it said in the charging documents. It does kind of go into the number 43, that cops that donate to his cause should be fired.
And this is, again, this case where, freedom of speech, well, that doesn't apply if the person is a really bad person. I mean,
Exactly. Right. Like, I have a real problem with this, even in my personal life. And we talk about this a lot on our channel, where, like, corporations, places we work at can throw up BLM signs and have rules against being apolitical, when I know for a fact that it is completely political movement.
It's total
right?
bullshit, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and keep in mind, Crystal Kaiser, and that, by the way, that is going to be a monster trial, especially with respect to Kyle. That's going to affect him a lot. But I have a donation page listed in all my descriptions for her, but I think she's guilty. I don't have any people donating to her. If she can get money and get a good defense, great. I have no problem with it. And I was really on her side for a long time, but the facts came out, and I said, you know what? No, I don't think that it's not looking good for her at all. Are you guys familiar with the case?
Like, I am a little bit, right? So this is a person that, to give our audience that's not familiar with the case, and I don't know if I read or Tim are, but this is the
Tim's gone. She had to scoot.
This is the young lady
She's not feeling good.
who shot a man because he was sex trafficking her, right? But when you actually look at the details, it becomes kind of odd, because she voluntarily showed up back to his place. She was just kind of hanging out there and accepting whatever the fact of the situation was, and then shot him, burned down his house, and stole his car. So it's like the guy she shot was a bad dude, right?
Yeah.
But the situation in which she shot her isn't necessarily justified under the law.
He was sitting in his chair. She first claimed self-defense. It became pretty clear that self-defense was not going to fly. So they switched strategies and went after the sex trafficking, what they call a safe harbor law. Now, the only thing about it is when she's guilty, I should be more careful. I don't think the law is going to support her case. Whether she is justified or not is a different argument. Look, I'm talking from a strictly legal standpoint. I think she's in trouble. And the reason why is
so too.
Conditions that they made for her to claim the safe harbor, she's not going to be able to meet them, I don't think. They offer her a plea, she better take it.
Yep. I haven't looked into that case as much as I should have, but from what I understand of it is kind of what you said. The dude she shot was a bad dude, but the situation in which he shot at him was probably not self-defense and safe harbor. I'm pretty sure the way the judge ruled, and I actually got this information from the video you said. It was like, yeah, they can bring it up, but it doesn't necessarily change anything about the law. Like, they have to make the case that it's connected.
For her is that the judge does not have to let the jury know about it. If he decides R is too low for that, the jury won't even be able to consider it. The only thing is that I think that only because the jury is just going to be just real sympathetic. I don't think that the law is going to support it. But whatever. I just want people to donate her to her cause so that she at least can defend herself. That's all.
I agree with that. Actually, it was do you ever watch Viva Fry?
Yeah, all the times.
You had Alan Dershowitz on the show, and Alan Dershowitz was talking about why he defends these people that should be indefensible. And it's like, it's part of the law that people are allowed the right to a defense. And if I wasn't taking it up, somebody else should. Like, I should defend my clients, even if it doesn't matter what the court of public opinion says.
Innocent till proven guilty, man.
Yeah, they deserve a defense. Mm-hmm. And well, actually, that is completely lost on our society. If anything, from Kyle Rittenhouse Twitter, if it proves anything, is that people no longer believe in this idea that you're innocent until proven guilty. Right? People no longer believe in this idea that I would rather let 10 guilty people go free than convict one innocent person. They don't believe it at all.
Well, that's because seeing them didn't tell them it happened.
I've actually had people say it explicitly. Like, I've heard and seen all I need to know. This guy needs to rot in jail. I don't need a trial.
That's really common. And I think the ones that really propose that are in sort of your hard left communists. And then it's scary because if you go back into the Stalinist times, it is that. I mean, that is what he did. And they took you down to the cellar. Yeah, you got a show trial, but it was just a formality. They took you down to the cellar and shot you.
It absolutely is. This is why a big reason why I wanted you to come on our show and talk about these things is because we talk about critical race theory and its origins, and it has a very Marxian origin, but it's going down that same path. And a lot of these arguments are mirrored very heavily with all the problems with critical race theory. Like the overlap, I just can't deny it. It's there. And even though we're talking about two different things, usually I feel like there's a lot in common here with what's going on and how people are looking at these things. And it's the critical theorist types, the people that are buying into it, that want to hang Kyle Rittenhouse. When I would say 40 years ago, everybody who would have watched that video would have been like, self-defense, easy.
Mm-hmm. Well, keep in mind that the whole idea that you're sort of born racist is a guilty until proven innocent stance. The whole thing, the fact that culturally we're guilty, and it's up to us to prove that we're
we've talked about that a lot here. It is one of the axioms of critical race theory, and it has a lot of similarities with religion, which I'm not sitting here, I'm not trying to harp on religion.
It's cult behavior, man.
Gone, but no, like it is very faith based, and it is one of those downward looking religions where you have to self-flagellate yourself in order to ever come out ahead and be an accepted
Well, you'll
person.
never be clean of the original sin of racism.
Yeah, original sin, exactly.
Okay, I'll throw something out right now that will be a pretty wild, and we get a lot. But if you go back to the NKVD and they dragged these poor guys down the cellars and shot them, where did they get those guards? A lot of people mistakenly think that those guards were raided from local nut houses. No, those were normal people. And now knowing where they get them.
I've actually brought this question up a lot of the times.
They bought into the narrative.
So with the critical race theorists, they look at things how they are now, and they look at the failures of liberal society in the past. The reality is most people, like, imagine if in 1840, when slavery was not only accepted in the norm and you were in the South, do you think you would have been the person that stuck your neck out against slavery? Because most people didn't. Do you think you would have had the balls to risk everything in your life, in your society, to be one of the outcasts that is trying to speak against slavery?
You know, and we all want to think that we would have had certain noble kind of viewpoints, but that's because we're going up in modern times.
Exactly. Like, it's so ridiculous to think that you could put yourself back in those times and pretend that you're gonna fucking actually, because like right now, what's gonna happen if you come out and be like, in fact, people still do it today, I'm against slavery? Well, no shit, everybody's against slavery today. Right. Like, there's nothing virtuous to say about that. Oh God, it just baffles me how people don't understand their own humanity.
They don't think that they would have been John Brown.
Oh yeah.
But it's only one John Brown.
And the John Brown Gun Club.
So the rest of people were not. And so, yeah.
All right. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Actually, we passed it by a little bit. So I'm going to go hyperspeak just because
that's fine.
I love your dumb argument list, by the way. So where are we at? Cops, like Kyle carried a rifle into a dangerous area. We actually already talked about that and some other things. So it's like, yeah, no, actually, he showed up with a rifle, and people that wanted to do dangerous stuff decided to do it anyway. The only person that shot anyone that night was Kyle. Well, he was also the only person attacked.
Yo, Neil.
Kyle getting separated was planned. That just is stupid. That's just dumb. Like, there's no evidence to support that. Kyle wanted to kill JoJo? That's number 47.
I don't remember what the actual argument was.
I'll go to 40. I think it was about, like, Kyle. I think this goes back to number 44 or number 46, where it was all planned. 48. You have to exhaust all alternatives to claim self-defense. That's fucking stupid. It really is stupid, because you should think about it like, what were my other alternatives? Like, you don't know as a reasonable person whenever you're defending yourself.
Insight doesn't work in this case.
Kyle, number 49 is actually one of the dumbest. Kyle should have ran to the protesters for help. The same people that wanted to kill him.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was actually offered.
Number 50 is a good one, which is where, like, too many people that are like, very right-leaning say this, but Kyle was just taking out the trash, right? Like, I do not. I'm not happy about the fact that he killed 3 people, or killed 2 people, right? I don't care what their backgrounds were, and all of that was hindsight. Like Kyle wouldn't have known,
right? It doesn't justify, right? Right. I mean, the whole situation. It kind of. Well, I mean, it's the fact that those guys were pieces of shit. Just it's like it's less tragic, from my perspective. But it's like it's still the argument is it's like the situation was extraordinary.
Yeah, and that argument there is thrown back at somebody. I just don't like getting into that kind of pissing match.
Right. Nobody has the right to take another person's life unless it's self-defense. And what they had done in their real life. I mean, that's just. I guess it's what I'm saying is that the variables existed, whether they would have gotten shot or not. They were who they were. So.
Yep. Number 51, Kyle admitted he shot 3 people.
See it all the time.
That's so. Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong. That's dumb because he's not denying it. The defense for self-defense is an affirmative defense, where you don't deny that you shot people.
In fact, you have to.
You can't make the defense if you don't.
Well, but here's the case, and I know you're kind of over time, but the case in Florida where the woman took a shot at her husband, claimed that she wasn't trying to shoot him. She went to 9 years for that because you can't fire warning shots in Florida. You can't claim self-defense.
Oh, by the way, Johnny, the overtime, I just want to let you know, we try to keep it to 2 hours only for rewatchability. It's not that we can go longer.
Yeah, okay. That's all right. I'm in no hurry to go anywhere. But he has to claim not only that he shot them, he has to claim that he tried to shoot.
In fact, I think there were some cases where a person might have been able to claim self-defense, but they refused to do so, and they lost because they didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I have a video on that one about the lady in Florida who made that mistake. This is what happens when you shoot your mouth off without talking to a lawyer.
Yep. Number 52. What if Kyle shot your kid?
Mm-hmm.
That's just an emotional argument. Like, it would suck. You'd be mad, right?
Well, yeah.
You would probably assume the best. From
Even if my kid was a piece of shit, yes, right. That's
like,
that's another moot argument. It's like
that's where like I don't know why they put fucking it's Huber's dad, right, up in all these hearings. Like, I don't know why he was there, but like I understand why he was mad. I just don't think his testimony adds anything to the conversation.
No,
especially legally. Like I think it looks bad on him to even be there. I don't know why they threw him out there.
Why you have lawyers that prepare statements for you, and he's got motley, and so he's kind of on his own. I mean, I don't know. Didn't prepare those idiot statements for him.
Well, and so this is an example. Like, so we've talked about critical race theory a lot of this channel, and one thing a lot of people probably don't know is that it came out of the legal academy. And what they've actually done is they've created a whole generation of lawyers and even judges that they learn the law, but they don't learn it to apply it as it's supposed to be, but they learn it in a way so they can make arguments to skirt the law. To be honest, that's what lawyers do, right? They use the law to their advantage. But when you have all these activists that are becoming lawyers, like that Molly fellow or woman, right?
Yes.
This is what you see is you have people, they're not sitting there trying to argue the law. Like they're trying to bend the law to their will in order to enact their social change. And this is something I think we're going to see going forward, and we need to watch out for it and call it out at every turn. Else it's just going to infect the entire legal system because it's already there.
Yeah, the law is a shield, but they're using it as a sword.
And I feel that's what Binger's doing. Like, when I watch all his arguments, like, when they were talking about the statute for like 16 and 17-year-olds being able to have long rifles, and what did he say? Something like, well, he was hunting humans.
His exchange there,
that was so ridiculous. Like, that just shows you, like, that guy is not an impartial actor of the state trying to enforce justice as the law dictates.
No, his entire strategy there was jaw-droppingly dumb, and Richards called him on it. That you're basically employing a question fallacy here, but I don't know. He comes off to me as just really, really stupid. But you know.
Well, and I thought the initial judge during that hearing was also being, I felt like he had some political leanings because I was reading the statutes, right, about long rifles. Like, you went over it, but it's not just you. Like, Rakeisha Law went over it, Viva La Fry went over it, Uncivil Law went over it, and you just read it. Ricada, sorry. I know her, his name way more than I actually hear his name. But no, like I was listening to it, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, the plain language of this says, like, in Wisconsin, they're okay with 16 and 17-year-olds going out with long rifles and shotguns, as so long as they're not hunting in compliance. And you can correct me.
You have all those guys saying that. I think they're wrong. I think that the Kyle is legally carrying that rifle for a different reason, and I put out a video on that, and nobody's picked up on it yet, except one person who sort of took me off to it. So if you're kind of interested in going in that any further, you ought to watch that video. But I don't think we can allow, and all those other people have it right.
Well, I'm actually more like, obviously I'm not a lawyer, so like I'm willing to listen to it. But what I'm actually thinking is, so the first judge was talking about like what was the legislative intent, and I'm just kind of thinking, like, what if you're like good old country boys in Wisconsin, right? And you don't want to have to deal with the fact that 16 and 17-year-old kids like to have fun with guns. They go out to places in the woods. They shoot at things. They're not hunting. You're not going to arrest them for it, right? We're just going to make that legal. And that's what I'm thinking. Like what they were thinking about. Were they thinking about somebody like Kyle that was just brandishing a gun during a situation where riots were about to break out? Probably not. But that doesn't matter if that's really what the law was about. Like it doesn't make a difference if the law says he can have that gun, even though they only expect him to be just being a kid out driving around, you know, like you don't want to pull a kid over that has a long rifle, probably thinking bolt action, but you know, that's not what's defined in the law. And it's kind of normal in that area for people to, like, kids to go out with guns and shoot stuff in the field. Like, I could see how the law was written that way. And if you have a problem with the law, change it. But I think that's the way the law was written.
Yeah. By the way, just as a correction, Keating, who is the original judge, is not a judge. He's a court commissioner or a county commissioner. So he's like a magistrate. And that is the reason why he probably punted on this thing, because I don't think he's in a position to really interpret a law. I wouldn't have if I was in his position.
Yeah, it was really weird how, like, he gave one of those, and I'm kind of used to this from like legal rulings on things that I pay attention to. again, I'm not a lawyer, nor are you. You're actually probably better at the law than I am. But I'm actually kind of used to judges just kind of punting on things the same way he did, or saying like, we'll just deal with it at trial because I don't want to make that decision. And sometimes they'll do it for political reasons, other times for ignorance. But when I read the plain statute of the law, I actually do read it as Kyle Rittenhouse could have totally been 17 with that rifle and it not be illegal in Wisconsin.
Right. Yeah, I just think that a lot of people, they say, well, that judge.
Johnny, you cut out. Get a little bit closer to your mic.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm just going to say that a lot of people think that this issue has been tossed. It's not. It's been pushed to the actual trial phase. And I think that Schroeder's going to probably push it to appeals. I don't even think Schroeder's going to settle on it.
Yep, I think so too. Like they're just going to keep filing the motions because, and what a lot of people just like, I think there's actually other things on this list, and we actually covered some of them, but it's actually irrelevant to whether or not Kyle Rittenhouse acted in self-defense.
Yeah,
like he was there, he had a gun. Like at that point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think he should have been there. It doesn't matter if the gun was legally obtained. Like all that matters is, did he think that he was in fear of death or severe bodily harm? That's all that matters.
Dominic. So it's not a minor issue to Dominic. And so it is really an important thing to settle. I'm afraid that if this thing just keeps going pushed up, it's going to end up spending a lot of time in jail waiting for this thing to be settled. But I'm not sure how it works in Wisconsin.
All right, I'm going to try to go through the rest of these super fast.
Okay.
I actually lost myself because there's so fucking many of these. You've made 55.2 of these, and I'll show you why it was 55.2. On the Kyle Shodman one, okay, so number 48, you have to exhaust all alternatives. We already said that. Number 49, Kyle should have ran to the protesters, covered that. Number 50, Kyle was just taking out the trash. 51, that's what we just talked about. He admitted shooting 3 people. 52, he shot your kid. Oh, 53, Kyle was a child soldier. That's really dumb. Like the child soldiers were just like brainwashed kids in like
in Africa,
other third world countries.
Right.
Yeah, that had nothing to do with that. Number 54, nobody would have hurt had Kyle not been armed. There's a lot of a priori nonsense with that one.
I don't know, man.
Kyle might have been hurt if he wasn't armed. He might have been dead if he wasn't armed, actually. Here's the one that, like, when I was going through your channel, you had a number 35 that was Kyle admitted he was in big trouble.
Yeah. That implies that he knew he had done something wrong, which is ridiculous.
No. I am okay with what you said. What I'm not okay with is, how is that number 35?
Yeah, I just misnumbered it. After a while, you get so it's hard to track them.
I totally understand.
Right.
That's why I'm probably the first person. I'm probably the first person ever to give a detailed record of your Kyle dumb arguments.
We're the first to bring it for sure.
Number 55 we already talked about, which is Kyle's Hispanic. So we don't have to go any further, but you did totally make 55 videos on, or actually 56 on dumb arguments involving Kyle Rittenhouse. And I think it's fucking awesome, which is why I wanted to have you on our show.
That stuff.
And also, like, the quality of your videos are A+. Like,
indeed.
whenever you actually break it down. I want everybody here in the chat to subscribe to Johnnie Walker Dread. We posted his channel a few times. Posted it again. Yeah, I really did. A+ commentary. I love what you're doing. In fact, I would love to talk to you again sometime in the near future, especially as the news develops. Because November is when the actual trial is going to happen.
In November, but I'm telling you, the Crystal Kaiser case is going to, and if she gets convicted, they're going to march on Kyle. So I think that the Crystal Kaiser case is going to be something to keep an eye on. I don't know when it's going to come up, but it's going to be soon.
Like, actually, like, for the Crystal Kaiser case, I mean, I've listened to a little bit of it, but I do believe the outcome is going to be related to the Kyle Rittenhouse case. But I also think with the Kyle Rittenhouse case, no matter what, you're actually going to see people that are on Rittenhouse's side showing up, brandishing weapons, armed. Like, you're going to see a very similar situation to what you would see whenever the Proud Boys do a demonstration in Portland, right? Like, you're going to have these protesters and counter protesters. And I don't know how it's going to go. I really don't. Like, I think it's going to be chaotic.
I think that Schroeder might he just might go Zoom with it. And that'll be a lot of the spice out of it.
Like, that might like, I heard that might be the right thing to do, because I'm just trying to think about it like in today's reality, and I just don't see a situation where this case is going to go like without some sort of, from pro Kyles or anti Kyles, some sort of civil unrest.
Well, and you're also going to see, because Kenosha's a fairly small town, all those jurors are going to be from that area, and they're going to get identified.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot different than the Chauvin case.
Yeah.
Also, not just because of that, but because the jury pool is not going to be so tainted, because there's a lot of Kenosha residents that saw what happened to their city, and they're going to be a lot more sympathetic to Kyle.
And also, was not a sympathetic character, even to right. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that thought he should not have been convicted, but didn't have an emotional investment in it. It was like, you know, I think even they kind of thought that Chauvin kind of the edges. But that's not going to be the case with Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, with Chauvin in particular, like, when it first went viral, I got on stream with our friend Tennessee Marine. I already know him real well. Yeah. But, like, we were both kind of just like, yeah, dude, like, we had very limited information. We just had the videos that were shown. I was on board, like, yeah, he fucking murdered a dude. Like, that's what it looked like to me. And then as the case went on, as I heard more information, like, my end opinion is actually not that Chauvin should have done what he did. It was more that Chauvin did what he did because we have cops with this impossible job. But I don't think he did it in malice. I don't think he was trying to kill him. I don't think he could have understood all the factors that were possibly involved. I just think that Floyd was, I mean, let's be real, he wasn't a great person. He put himself in a bad situation. I just think he fell victim to a process that couldn't handle that situation. Like, I don't think it was Chauvin's fault that Floyd died. I think it was, like, for instance, they sued the state for wrongful death, and the state just paid it out in a settlement. I think that makes sense, but I don't think that it makes sense to actually put Chauvin in jail for it. I think he was just doing what a cop can do under the situations that they're put under. And that was after the trial. Like I started out saying he's a murderer. I listened to the trial and I came away with, all right, so he shouldn't, like, George Floyd shouldn't have died, but at the same time, like, you can't call Chauvin a murderer. Like, he was just doing what he was trained to do, however faulty that is.
Yeah, I myself, I can see both sides. And this one here was a case where I could say I can understand. But Kyle, not only I just cannot see what
I don't see the other side of Kyle Rittenhouse at all.
I just don't see it.
Well, it's a big deal to me because just as you say, like, the reason you're covering this and you've made 100 Kyle Rittenhouse videos. Like, I only went over your dumb arguments, and you have 55 of those.
Right.
And you have another 40 that are not dumb arguments. They're just about the whole situation. But I see injustice. I see what's going on with, like, his prosecution as injustice, just like you said. And in fact, it, like, whenever you described why you were defending Kyle, you made me feel better. Because, like, yeah, that's it. That's what I'm feeling for why I am all of a sudden getting attached to this issue, is because I see this injustice and I want things to go the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the emotional side, when I say emotional, meaning this is just purely a legal interest case. 17 years old, and this is self-defense here. So self-defense is a trial here, and that cuts closer to what the average person feels about with, unlike Chauvin. Chauvin is self. When it comes to self-defense, this is going to get real dicey, and the emotions are going to run really hot.
Well, and I'm with you too, because you're talking about self-defense, which I think is a basic natural right, which is where, like, kind of earlier we circled back on CRT, where I think they have a version to that. They don't actually believe that. Like, self-defense only matters if it supports the theory that they want to go with for how society should be. I look at it independently. Like, it doesn't matter who Kyle Rittenhouse was, doesn't matter what he believed. Like, the fundamentals of our society, the fundamentals of civilization, even for a civilized civilization, it, like, one of the bedrocks is you need to be able to defend yourself or your property, and by extension, even your community. And if Kyle Rittenhouse ends up going to jail for what he did, self-defense in America is over. Like, if that actually stands, then the lesson learned is you can't defend yourself.
That's what they're wanting. It's ultimately guns and self-defense are what keeps them from tearing the society completely apart.
Mm-hmm.
Do that, then you can run rampages through cities and essentially terrorize your political. But if it wasn't for that pesky Second Amendment, where I'm from, you don't see this stuff happening.
Right.
No, I mean, I know, like, first off, I didn't realize Las Vegas, Oklahoma was a real place. Apparently it is. No, we have a friend at Aircraft Sparky that is he's got a pretty decent sized YouTube channel, but he's also he's also an Okie.
Where's he from?
I actually don't know this.
I don't know, man. You know, it's like we kind of don't know where each, we're stuck in these personas and shit.
I do, Johnny, like, just because of the quality of your content and your commentary. I want to get you in touch with Aircraft Sparky because he lives in Oklahoma.
He's a groovy dude.
I also want to get you in touch with Let's Be Frank. Like, these are two, like, YouTubers that they're not huge. I would call them medium. Like we're a small channel. Like, Let's Be Frank has like 60,000 subs or something like that. And I know he would love to talk to you about this kind of thing, because not only do you present it very well, but you're just kind of right up his alley with content creation. So
I'm game.
Like, yeah, like to be real honest, the biggest reason I invited you on the stream, it's not necessarily the best fit, but it's because I thought the quality of your channel was like so good. I was like, how does this guy only have? I think when I first watched you, and you've grown quite a bit since then, but I think you had like 120 subs. You're up to like what 210 now.
Yeah, 203 or 204 or something like that. I haven't checked it.
We got you up to 206 just with this stream. So.
Okay, 206.
Oh, 209 now.
209. Wow. I don't do this strategy stuff at all. This is a hobby. Could I have grown it more? Maybe, I mean, but I don't pay attention to like when's the best time to post, how many should I post.
Oh yeah. I'm not even getting into any of that. I'm just like,
yeah,
people that want to watch content that is informative and also entertaining, they should watch your channel.
Appreciate it.
It's a good one.
And I've enjoyed this. It was worth the trouble. Because we did have a lot of trouble getting on, but it was worth it.
Yeah, once we got going, it was great. It was
Dude, anytime you want to talk or whatever, yeah, like certainly, I'll have you back on if everybody else is down. We can also probably figure out your Discord to make it a little bit clearer. You sounded fine, like we could understand you, but not as clear as what you sound in your normal videos. So.
Yeah, Discord's got some automatic voice attenuation shit that will it kind of cuts off the beginning and the end of stuff sometimes. So,
it's actually the reason we're using Discord is probably even like Irate, which is the I mean he's basically the 100-year-old $1 million man. Right, he's got so many replacement parts. Like I guarantee he's older than you by enough.
Yeah, right, Johnny. Do you remember Welcome Back, Cotter?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. Good. Finally, I was talking about Arnold Horshack earlier, and it was like he was asking who the fuck is you? Who is that, man?
But yeah, this stream is also like. More like it's like we like to talk about serious topics, but it's still shits and giggles, right? Like we're not super serious on here, so you feel free to come on and express yourself. I actually hope to see you in our live chats in the future, and honestly, I can't wait for more stuff to come out on your channel.
So what do you got coming up, Johnny?
Dude, I have a backlog that is immense.
Oh wow!
We got 10 dumb arguments lined up, and I'm branching out a lot more now. I just taped one on some kid getting mauled by a pit bulls. I didn't post it yet, but I've taped it, and I've got so much going. There's just no.
Hello.
Let me give you an example of a few things. I've got planned up how dumb is Binger through all of his discussions and analyze his thought processes, and that's one of them. And oh man, what else? I've just got so much going.
I actually have a question for you, Johnny. Do you have any strong opinions on January 6th?
No, not really. I pretty well have stayed out of that one. The only thing I have talked about was the whole idea of hypocrisy in, the whole idea of being unarmed. You cannot shoot that person, but they shot Ashley.
Yeah, some of the stuff is ridiculous. I don't know. I have some strong opinions on it, and that would be a great conversation to have even with you. I'd love to have you on when I have that conversation.
Well, it might be a really good way for me to kind of get a post as to what happened, because I have largely ignored it.
Actually, we have real life friends that were there that day.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Sparky's one of them.
Yeah, I think I'll give you the short story. I think it was dumb. I think that nobody that breached the Capitol should have done it. But on the grand scheme of things, was it an insurrection? No, there would have been bodies piled up if that's actually what was going on. Right? Like a lot of people, it was a very disoriented. I think the best description I heard of the whole situation, it was like 7 levels of stupid away from being an actual insurrection. And oh my God, what would have happened if they would not have just went home 2 hours later?
Right on.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly had the weapons to cause mayhem there if they'd. But again, I don't like diving into things superficially, and I looked at that initially. I said, "Oh shoot, it is vast," and I just backed out of it.
Right.
And so I was concentrated on Kyle mostly because I like to pick on a topic and then dive deep on it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like I want to get into a little bit more. Like this is just me personally. I want to get into it a little bit more just because like I look at like the end result and I'm just like, there wasn't even as much damage done to the Capitol as like any given night in Portland, right? And they're trying to use this like as a political weapon to do something like condemn the right or populists that have an opinion about what happened in the election that doesn't fit the narrative. And I'm like, I don't even have to say anything about the narrative. Like they certainly have that opinion. Because I can say the same thing about Black Lives Matter and their whole idea of systemic racism. Why, like, I think they're just wrong, right? Anyway, that's a topic for another. Yeah, that's a topic for another stream.
Yeah.
But I would certainly love to have somebody like you, Johnny, talking about that if we ever get there.
Yeah, if you ever want me back on, just send me a direct message and I'll make the time.
Right, and I do an interview thing on Sundays, and I'll hit you up and we'll schedule something and hang out. All right, I'd love to do that.
Sounds good. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, just kind of explain a little bit more the difference between your interview stream and what we did here.
Yeah. It was a deep dive, but the interview stream is a little more personable and a little. It's more like, all right, you don't know who you know. It's more like Tom Snyder. That kind of laid back, kind of a laid back thing. So I like that feel. But and tomorrow, as a matter of fact, speaking of, I am doing I'm doing an interview with the one and only Drone Tech. I don't know if you've caught his Drone Tech Politics. So. Yeah. And that will be tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and that's 2 p.m. Pacific.
I might be able to tune in.
Hey, and Becca and I Monday will be talking. I don't know what we're going to do, but it's of course extra credit from Gulag with Becca, and we're going to be talking about communism and how it sucks. So. And it's on Twitch because Susan's a bitch. On that note, you guys ready to let's say goodbye and get out of here? All right?
Yep. All right, take care, guys. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, man. It was awesome. All right.
Take care.
All right, Excel.
Later all.